Welcome to the Knight Gambit TV, where every move is a lesson, every game is an opportunity, and every player can improve. From opening traps and tactical puzzles to grandmaster game analysis and in-game mastery, this channel is dedicated to helping you become a stronger chess player. Think deeper, play smarter, win with confidence. Let's begin. 1. e4 e5. White fires the first shot with pawn to e4, aggressively claiming the center, staking a claim on d5, and immediately opening diagonals for both the queen and light-squared bishop. It's a declaration of open, attacking intent. But black refuses to blink. Pawn to e5. Black mirrors the blow, shutting down white's dreams of total central dominance while opening up their own lines. The battle lines are drawn. 2. Knight f3, then black replies with knight c6. White brings out the heavy artillery. Knight f3. The knight leaps forward, developing with a direct threat against the e5 pawn. Black counters instantly with knight c6, developing a piece naturally while wrapping the e5 pawn in a tight layer of protection. 3. d4, then black replies with e takes d4. White smashes the center wide open with the Scotch game. d4. It's an explosive pawn sacrifice meant to tear open lines. Black accepts the challenge. ex d4, liquidating the center. 4. Knight takes d4, then black replies with knight f6. White recaptures with nx d4, restoring material balance. Black strikes back immediately with nf6, developing with a counterattack on white's undefended e4 pawn. 5. Bishop d3. Then black replies with knight takes d4. Disaster strikes. White plays bishop d3, intending to defend e4, but completely forgets that their knight on d4 is now entirely unprotected. Black instantly punishes the blunder with knight takes d4, capturing the free knight. Realizing the devastating loss of material on move 5, white resigns. Game over. Go to the second trap. Let's break down this lightning-fast 1935 miniature where white gets brutally punished for moving the same piece too many times. White opens with 1. e4, taking control of the center, and black responds symmetrically with 1. e5. White immediately pressures the center with 2. Knight f3, attacking the e5 pawn, and black defends naturally with 2. Knight c6. Next, white plays 3. d4, the aggressive Scotch game, and black captures with 3. e takes d4. White recaptures the pawn with 4. Knight takes d4, and black brings out a knight for knight f6, targeting white's e4 pawn. Instead of defending, white pins black's knight with 5. Bishop g5, and black breaks the pin immediately with 5. Bishop e7. Here is where white goes wrong, moving the knight again with 6. Knight f5. Black ignores the threat to the g7 pawn and strikes back in the center with 6. d5. White tries to complicate things with 7. e takes d5, but black repositions with 7. Knight e5. White captures the bishop with 8. Knight takes e7, and black recaptures 8. Queen takes e7. Thinking the e4 pawn is free, white grabs it with 9. Bishop takes f6. A fatal mistake. Black finishes the game instantly with 9. Knight f3, checkmate. Double check and checkmate. Let's go to the second trap. 1. e4, then black replies with e5. White moves the king's pawn forward 2 squares. This claims space in the center, opens up lines for the queen and the king's bishop, and is one of the most popular opening moves in chess. Black responds symmetrically, moving their king's pawn forward 2 squares to fight for the center and open up their own pieces. 2. Knight f3, then black replies with knight c6. White brings out the knight to its most natural square. This immediately develops a piece toward the center and attacks black's unprotected pawn on e5. Black develops their own knight to defend the e5 pawn. This is a very standard, solid response. 3. d4, then black replies with f5. White Scotch game. White advances the queen's pawn 2 squares. This immediately challenges black's center pawn, aiming to open lines for white's pieces. Black Black tries a highly aggressive, risky counterattack called the Rousseau Gambit. Moving the f-pawn early in the game is dangerous because it weakens the diagonal leading straight to black's king. 4. e takes f5, then black replies with e4. White captures black's pawn on f5. White accepts the gambit and wins a free pawn for the moment. Black pushes their attacked pawn forward to e4, attacking White's knight on f3 and trying to drive it away. 5. Knight e5, then Black replies with knight takes e5. White. Instead of retreating, White jumps the knight forward into a powerful central square, e5, threatening a nasty check on q5 if Black isn't careful. Black captures White's active knight with their own knight. While this removes White's aggressive piece, it brings another White pawn forward. 6. D takes e5, then Black replies with d6. White captures back with the d pawn. Now, White's pawn on e5 is very restrictive, preventing Black's remaining knight from developing to its usual square, f6. Black. The blunder Black tries to challenge White's central pawn, but this move is too slow and completely misses the looming disaster on the dark diagonals. Black desperately needed to defend their king. 7. Queen h5 check, then Black replies with king e7. White. The queen enters the attack with a powerful check. Because Black moved their f-pawn on move 3, the diagonal to the king is wide open. Black. The king has no pieces to block the check and cannot hide, so it is forced to awkwardly step forward to e7. The Black king is now totally exposed in the center of the board. 8. Bishop g5 check, then Black replies with knight f6. White. White brings the dark squared bishop into the game with another check. The net is closing in on Black's king. Black is forced to block the check by putting their knight in the way on f6. However, this knight is now pinned. It cannot move because doing so would expose the king to the bishop. 9. E takes f6 check. White. The white pawn captures the pinned knight on f6, delivering a discovered check from the queen on h5 while also threatening to promote into a new queen next move. Result: 1-0, Black resigns. Black threw in the towel here. They are down material, their king is out in the open, and White's attack is completely overwhelming. Let's go to the fourth trap one. e4, then Black replies with e5. White claims the center with the king's pawn opening, and Black responds symmetrically, setting up a classic open game. 2. Knight f3, then Black replies with knight c6. White develops the knight to threaten the e5 pawn. Black calmly defends with their own knight. 3. d4, then Black replies with f6. We enter the Scotch game as White strikes the center. But Black commits a major mistake here by playing f6, a weak move that blocks the f6. Knight exposes the king's diagonal and fails to develop a piece. For bishop c4, then Black replies with bishop b4 check. White brings out the bishop, targeting the vulnerable f7 square. Black responds with a premature check that doesn't accomplish much. 5. c3, then Black replies with bishop a5. White easily blocks the check while gaining a tempo, forcing Black's bishop to retreat into inactivity. 6. d takes e5, then Black replies with f takes e5. White opens up the central lines. Black recaptures, leaving their king completely exposed. 7. Knight takes e5, then Black replies with knight takes e5. A brilliant tactical strike. White sacrifices the knight to blow open the game. Black accepts, walking right into the trap. 8. Queen h5 check, then Black replies with knight f7. The queen delivers a devastating double attack, checking the king and threatening the e5 knight. Black blocks with the knight, but it's already too late. 9. Queen takes f7 checkmate. Game over. White's queen, protected by the light-squared bishop, delivers a swift checkmate on f7. White plays pawn to e4, and Black replies with pawn to e5. Both sides claim their stake in the center of the board and open up lines for their queens and bishops. 2. White moves knight to f3, and Black responds with knight to c6. White attacks the hanging e5 pawn, and Black naturally develops a piece to defend it. 3. White strikes with pawn to d4. This triggers the Scotch game. White challenges Black's center pawn immediately to open up lines for an attack. 3. Black counters with knight to f6. Instead of capturing White's d4 pawn, which is the standard move, Black ignores the threat and counterattacks White's e4 pawn. This turns out to be a minor mistake. 4. White pushes pawn to d5. White ignores Black's threat, moves forward, and kicks Black c6. Knight away, gaining massive space in the center. 4. Black retreats knight to e7. The knight is forced backward into an awkward, passive position. 5. White captures the pawn on e5 with the knight. White wins a free central pawn because black's pieces are out of position. 5. Black plays pawn to d6. Black tries to chase white's central knight away, but this is the final, fatal blunder. Black completely misses a tactical trap. 6. White leaps with bishop to b5, checking the king. This, in between, move catches black off guard. Because the king is in check, black cannot take white's knight. 6. Black blocks with pawn to c6. Black attempts to shield the king and attack the bishop simultaneously. 7. White captures the pawn on c6. White is now threatening a brutal double attack. If the c6 pawn moves again, it will discover a check on the king while threatening to capture the a8 rook. 7. Black moves queen to a5, checking the king. Black attempts a desperate counterattack, putting white's king in check, while simultaneously targeting the unprotected b5 bishop. 8. White blocks with knight to c3. The perfect shield. White shields their king, protects the vulnerable b5 bishop, and keeps the deadly threat of the c6 pawn alive. Realizing that the c6 pawn will inevitably push forward next turn to destroy their position, black resigned. Thanks for watching the Knight Gambit TV. If you learned something new today, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest chess lessons. Share this video with your friends, and remember, every grandmaster was once a beginner who never stopped learning. Keep practicing, keep improving, and I'll see you in the next game.